Hi, I'm Christopher Walker with Closely Observed English, and this is another writing feedback video. And here we have a C1 Advanced or CAE essay. Let's take a look at the rubric, which is over here. So you've listened to a radio discussion program about the further education courses that should receive extra financial support from the government. I recognize this one. You've made the notes below. Which type of education deserves extra financial support? And there's art, sport, and music. Discuss two of the courses and then explain which of your course deserves extra financial support, giving reasons. Okay, so I'll read the text and then we'll identify which content points have been covered and go through the assessment scales. So here we go. Hardly does a year pass without the media bringing to our attention the lack of financial investment from the government in further education. By giving reasons for their utility and necessity to our country's development, this essay aims to promote two of the most relevant domains in which funds are needed. Although frequently neglected, studying classical music has multiple benefits on the intellectual and spiritual levels of youngsters, especially on children. It has been scientifically proven that interpreting a masterpiece composed by well-known artists such as Beethoven not only has a calming effect on the often highly energized schoolers, but it also enhances their school performance by stimulating the formation of synapses between neurons from different parts of the brain. Sports as further education courses represent another area seeking for financial aid in pursuit of growth. In addition to mental capacities that hold the power when making our country visible on the world map, physical aptitudes can also win important competitions. A good example would be the latest Olympic Games, where our small but well trained team of gymnasts made our nation proud by coming in third place. Many claim that if there had been more financial support from the government, our girls would have come back with gold medals. In light of the above, I would suggest the government financing those two types of further education courses as soon as possible, offering some extra money to sports. Whereas both are significant to a promising future, we all agree on the fact that our current generations of athletes have great potential and could have a great impact internationally. Moreover, a fit body can lead to a clearer way of thinking and helps in staying healthy. Okay, so the student has gone after sport and music, not art. Art's been left out. That's fair enough. And has the student also chosen which type deserves extra financial support? Yes, I think so. So that makes marking the content a pretty easy task. I think it's a 5. All of the content is relevant to the task, and the target reader is fully informed. The points are introduced and developed, introduced and developed, introduced and developed. All 3 content points, which is something of a rarity. A lot of students overlook the third point, but this one has done a great job there. So we can move very quickly over to communicative achievement. For a 3, uses the conventions of the communicative task effectively to hold the target reader's attention. Yes, that definitely happens. It's an essay. It's structured as an essay, so it has a clear logical progression of ideas and it argues each point well. The reader's attention was held, certainly. Communicate straightforward and complex ideas as appropriate. The ideas that are presented are developed, which makes them more complex. Um, the mental aspects with music, yes. I mean, I would argue against the truth of them, but it doesn't have to be true. It has to be well written, and that's the key here. Um, do we go as high as a 5? Let's have a look. Uses the conventions of the communicative task with sufficient flexibility to communicate complex ideas in an effective way, holding the target reader's attention with ease, fulfilling all communicative purposes. I would say that there are aspects of that and aspects of band 3. I'm going to go for a band 4. One of the main reasons that I'm not going all the way for a 5 comes down to some choices of language that affect how well the target reader's attention is held. And I'll come back to that when I look at language. Organization, then. For a 3, we're looking at text is well organized and coherent. It is. Each part is clear. So we have our introductory paragraph here. We have our first point, the second point, and our concluding paragraph where the decision is made. So that is well organized. It is coherent. Ideas are introduced and developed and then concluded. Very nice. There's a variety of cohesive devices. Let's have a look at cohesion, shall we? Um, Nice long sentence to start us off. And the second sentence, yeah, I think the second sentence works. It's a little bit unusual because the introduction to the point is made second and then the consequences first. It could have been the other way. This essay aims to promote two of the most relevant domains in which funds are needed by giving reasons for their utility and necessity to our country's development. That might have worked better because this is a long first clause just here, and you have to read all of it, hold it in your head, then read the next part and start to understand what you've just seen. I'm not saying it's a big thing. The reason I'm pointing it out really is because there's not much else for me to talk about here because it is well structured. I think that the only little problem I've got in the next paragraph is this: although frequently neglected. The reason that I have a problem with it is that it's classical music that is frequently neglected, or studies of classical music. Studying classical music is not frequently neglected because the people who actually are studying will probably be doing it as well as they can. The studies of classical music within school, the course itself, that would be neglected, or maybe even the whole genre of music represented here could be neglected, but studying isn't. So it's a slight issue with organization. We've got a not only, but also, which is nice. Nice long sentence that's well managed. I mean, look at this sentence. It starts here and it concludes here, but it isn't a strain on the reader. So that's great. Let's have a look for the next one. I think we've got in addition to, and then that leads in a good example, and that's linking. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. In light of the above, yeah, I think that's fine to introduce this. We've got whereas, and then saying we all agree on the fact that. Moreover. Moreover is pretty well used here, actually. A lot of people use moreover a little bit too easily without really thinking too much. So what should I give for the organization? Well, I'm going to give a very high 4. I would say it's a 4 going up to a 5. It is well structured. I can't think of very much that needs doing to tidy up the text. I think maybe putting the reader's interests first ahead of the point might help, because if you introduce things in a convoluted way through organizational approaches, you do make it a little bit harder for the reader to digest the meaning. But that's a small thing. So far we're doing very well. That takes us on to the language, and language is always the sticking point, and it's almost always for the same reason, and that reason has to do with synonym syndrome. Have we got synonym syndrome here? I think we have a little bit, unfortunately, and we see it in the student here, desperate to avoid repeating the word student. So we have youngsters and children. We have schoolers. I've not come across schoolers before. I think that's most of it, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So that's not so bad. We also have a little bit of concern over slightly overly developed language, let's say. Here, sports as further education courses represent another area seeking for financial aid. So not for, seeking, looking for, or seeking financial aid in pursuit of growth. So this sentence is a little bit wordy. That's not a massive problem. It could be said simpler, not in a more basic way, but in a simpler way. So it's easier to see what the point is. But there is some really good stuff in, and we've got to give praise where praise is due. I liked this example here, where we had a good example would be the latest Olympic Games, where our small but well-trained team of gymnasts made our nation proud by coming in third. We don't need place there. Many claim that if there had been more financial support from the government, our girls would have come back with gold medals. Look at that sentence. That sentence is beautiful. Some people might not like the word girls used here, but I'm going to give it a pass there. I'm more concerned with the quality of the language here, and especially the use of that third conditional, talking about the past and how it could have been different and the result of if it had been different. That's very nice. So let's start with a 5 language and see if it fits there. Uses a range of vocabulary, including less common lexis, effectively and precisely. Not quite, unfortunately not. Things like schoolers doesn't help. There are areas here where just trim it down a little bit, bring it back in a little bit would have helped. Uses a wide range of simple and complex grammatical forms with full control, flexibility, and sophistication. We're a lot closer to that, yes. Errors, if present, are related to less common words and structures or occur at slips. We're very close to that as well, which means that we're going to be looking at a combination of bands 5 and 3, giving us an overall band 4. So this is a strong piece of writing. It was pleasant to read. I enjoyed it. I really liked the points that were raised in support of the answer that the student had composed, especially in terms of sport. And do you know why I really, really like it? Because it was evidence of personalization. Notice how well the student wrote when they wrote about something that they knew. Instead of talking generally about how sport is good, she went straight in, specifics about the Olympic Games. Doesn't have to be true. I mean, I don't know. I'm not even sure which country this student came from. Wherever they came from, maybe they knew a bit about the Olympic Games and what happened and what could have happened. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. The point is that by being specific, by personalizing the answer in this way, the language used was elevated. Look at that use of conditional structure. It was brilliant. Okay, so that's a good lesson for us all. If you want to make it easy on yourself when you're writing, try to personalize as much as possible, because by personalizing your responses, you're more likely to use advanced language. And on that point, I shall finish. Thank you very much to the student for sending in their work, and I shall see you all next time. Thank you.